back to the Technology Show. It is the Technology Show where we translate geek into regular speak. I'm Brett Levy and I'm your host this week. So, it's been a while. Apologies. I was getting better when the year started and then I've kind of fallen back again. But I do have an excuse. I had to move homes, taken on some new projects. It's been quite a busy time. We are planning a trip overseas as a family to celebrate Kate's birthday soon as well. So, going to be a little bit of disruption. But in order to do today's show, I actually had to spend a bit of time doing a bit of comparison. Well, let's get into it. So let me just bring up. In fact, I've changed the configuration on my screen, so I don't even know where I'm looking anymore. But hopefully, I'm still looking front and center, and hopefully the screen is up. So things with AZ. So today's show, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to compare two apps. Now, for those of you, and some hardware actually, for those of you that are regulars with the show, listeners, watchers, etc., I generally do an app or a piece of cool technology. It's very rare that I actually put two against each other and throw in tech as well at the same time. So this is kind of why I've taken a bit of time doing this show, because I need to do a little bit of a comparison. So if you're watching the show, you'll see that I've got a screen up on a product called Life360, or an app rather called Life360. Now, as an iPhone user, I have a built-in program called Find My, and anyone else that uses anything inside the iOS or macOS environment, you've got Find My as well. And as the name would suggest, you can find my phone, computer, watch, person. Yes, so you can link a person to a device, and obviously wherever that device is, that person is. And it works really well. It's super easy to use. It goes across all my different devices. But the question is, what if you don't have an iPhone? And what if not everyone in your family has an iPhone? I have a lot of friends and colleagues that maybe the parents have an iPhone, but the kids don't. It's an expensive device for their first phone. Want to maybe give them a cheaper entry-level Android device, then Find My is not going to work. So, and there are solutions, and we're actually going to address that today. As I said, I'm going to do a little bit of hardware integration as well as software. So let's start with Life360, because that's kind of where the focus has been. And that's why I've had to spend a couple of weeks just playing with the app and getting familiar with the app in order to do today's show. So Life360 answers the problem of what happens if I'm not a 100% Apple family, or not all the devices are Apple. Now, the 360 refers to an important part of the app. When you download the app, you create what they call circles. Get it? 360. And these are basically where you put trusted individuals, so families or friends, depends even what you're using it for. Some of the scenarios that I've been looking at, given on some of the features inside the app, I don't see why this couldn't be used as a business tool as well. And I'll touch on that as well. But basically, inside these circles, these are your safe places. This is where you put people that are important to you for whatever reason it might be. And they now can share real-time information of where they are. So, for example, like location. Now, if you take Find My on iPhone, it shares the location that automatically. Here, you create your circle, it will share the information automatically as well. What's nice about this feature is that basically there's safety features. Now, thankfully, I didn't actually have to use the safety feature, which basically is crash detection. So if you're in a crash, automatically Life360 will alert people in your circle. Now, I do believe that Apple does this as well. I think the device has crash detection, or you need an Apple Watch. If I'm not mistaken, you don't have to have the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch will do things like fall detection, so it uses an accelerometer. But I do believe that the iPhone itself has a crash detection feature as well. Now, as I said, I didn't have to try out this app. I didn't have to see if the app works or not. But what's also really cool, and it is a paid app, so there's a free version app, but if you want to get some of the features, you do have to pay for them. And one of those is that if you were in a crash, you could actually have the medical emergency services dispatched automatically. So your location would be shared. I'm assuming they'd be able to phone you and check if you can. If you can't answer the phone, then they know it's serious and they can obviously come out to you. Now, bearing in mind that if you were in a crash, and I mean, if it's just a bumper bash, your circle, other members of your circle are going to be notified, and they're probably going to phone you. And if they can't get hold of you, then yeah, they can obviously send whomever they need to, because they'll know where your location is. So the other thing though that's pretty cool. Now, this is a feature that some people might not like. If you're watching the show, I've actually put the screen up. Um, if you're on the road now, basically, if you're a parent with a new driver, or maybe even you're the kid of an older parent, so kind of like if you're 40 or 50 and you've got kids that are starting to drive, or you're 40 and 50 and you've got parents that you should probably be questioning whether they should still be driving, then what this does is Life360 will actually give you metrics on their usage. It includes phone usage, speeding, hard braking, or rapid acceleration. Now, here in Australia, we have a thing where in order to get your license after your learners, you have to go into what we call P plates, which is a provisional driver. And there's certain rules and regulations that P platers can't do. But if you ask anyone in Australia, you can tell if someone's a P plater because of the way when a light changes, they pull off as if they're in a race, and they do everything as fast as they can. It's a novelty. They're driving. Now, Life360 would recall that. That's the rapid acceleration. But I think most important of all, out of the four metrics that it records, is the phone usage. Now, I did test this, and I'm not going to confess which of the features I tested because, well, this is recorded and it could come back and bite me. But these features do work. As I said, there's 4 different features. I'm not confessing which ones I did or didn't do, but yes, they do work. There are things that record. And if you're watching the show, you can see I've done a screenshot of the circles, like the group together. It could show a total speed of the group and so on, how many hours were driven, when they were driven. Phone usage is shown there and how many times. So like when people touch their phones or use their phones, the app actually records it. You can then drill down into the individual. So I've just got one up on the screen that says Mark's driving report. He's driven, it's obviously American, these screenshots. He drove 37 miles in this week. He did an average of, his top speed was 78 miles per hour. Now, it's been a while since I've been in the States, but I remember the speeds being about 65 miles per hour. Naughty Mark. And he did a total of 4 drives. But more importantly, he touched his phone 10 times. Now, you could actually see what that means. If he actually went into a network, a social network, etc. Is this spying? Sure. Is this an invasion of privacy? No. This is more about prevention. I think, basically, I don't think it's a bad feature. And I mentioned that this could be used for companies. Now, imagine all businesses, not just circles of friends and family. Imagine if you're a company where logistics is important, or, your staff driving around and delivering things is important. You don't want them touching their phones. You don't want them speeding. You don't want them braking hard or accelerating rapidly, especially if the vehicle's branded, right? It's not going to put a good message out there. So you could use Life360 in a professional or business environment as well. So that's some of the cool features. I haven't seen that kind of data or metrics on Apple natively. So in other words, Find My doesn't give you that kind of information. I'm sure there's another app out there that does it, but we're reviewing Life360. So I don't really know what other app is out there, and I don't really care. This is the one that I'm reviewing. But the point is that it's all in one space. And more importantly, whether you've got an iPhone or an Android phone, it works across both of them. And I think that's the really big thing that you need to take away from today's show. So, so Life360 app, as I said, there is premium features. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I was going to compare apps and hardware, and I'm going to park that for a second and just talk a little bit about the comparison with Apple's Find My, right? So, although it works seamlessly across the Apple devices and it does show real-time location, and we've mentioned it does crash detection too, the main issue is that it only works on Apple products. And that's important, right? And not all Apple products. So in other words, if you have an iPad, you can't put your iPad in the car and then if there was a crash, use crash detection. It needs the phone for that. So you have to have an iPhone, those type of benefits if you were staying within the iOS environment. Now back to the hardware. I'll stay with Apple for a second. So Apple's got an AirTag, which is a little Bluetooth tracker, a little round coin. I'm trying to think of a currency, probably the size of a quarter, maybe in America. It's been a while since I've looked at a quarter. Here in Australia, it's like kind of between it's about a 20-cent piece, I think. And in South Africa, I think it's like the 2 rand coin. So just trying to give you some dimensions. Don't ask me in the UK. I can't remember their coins. Now, if you if you have an iPhone, this works. And again, you have to have an iPhone to use AirTags. It's all part of the whole iOS ecosystem. Now, you can set up an AirTag and you can put it in someone's bag or on their bike or on their keys or whatever it is that you need to look after and track. And that tracker will still work, but you still need an iPhone to read the data and see where that person or product is. Now, before Apple launched the AirTag, there was another really big player in the market, and that was a company called Tile. Now, Tile's actually owned by Life360, and they're still very much in the market. They have some very cool iterations of tracker. Now, again, Tile will work on both Apple and Android. So already there's an advantage. I've got a few here I played with. So if you're watching the show, I'm going to hold them up. Let me actually go back into full screen for a sec. So this is a credit card one. As you can see, it really is a credit card size. It's as thin as a credit card. And then this is the key fob one. It looks like, like a little remote key fob that you would put on any, key fob, hence its name. It is bigger than the Apple AirTag. Sorry, I went blank there for a second. But it comes with a nice little built-in loop, which the AirTag doesn't have. So if you wanted to put it onto your keys, to an AirTag now, you'd have to buy a separate accessory, and then you could loop it onto your keys. They also do make a really small one. Let me go back into screen mode. If you're watching, there's actually so there you can see it on the keys. There it is inside a credit card holder. And the small one, which is pretty much the size of an AirTag, it looks like it might be a little bit thicker than an AirTag, but they've stuck it on the remote control. How many times have you lost remote control and not being able to find it? Like goes down the side of the couch or fallen behind the couch or something like that. So, now you can put on the remote, or you can actually stick it on anything and just ping it, and there we go. So they've got different iterations, whereas at the moment, Apple only has one. And, you might actually want to put the card in your purse or your wallet and leave it there, not actually have to worry about a separate little round tag somewhere. Again, the big plus here would be that it is Android and Apple, right? So, it's going to work across both devices or cross-platform. Now, although the Tile comes with a standalone app, Life360, which, as I mentioned, owns Tile, has got integration into the Life360 app. So you actually don't need to have a separate app, and all the info of your loved ones or loved possessions. And I'm not suggesting that your loved ones are possessions, but basically, you know what I mean? Like everyone and everything is inside one app. And yes, it does do the same thing with Apple and Find My, but we're talking cross-platform, right? So from that point, I'd have to give Tile and Life360 the heads up on that one. And if you don't have Life360 or you're not looking to track people, as I said, Tile does have their own app. So you can it's a free app. You can just use the Tile app, and you can still track your stuff. Now, I don't think there's a winner here, right? I try to go into the show to give you the different choices out there. And, even as Apple users, you might prefer the Life360 Tile tracking environment for the simple reason that there's more that you can do with it in one place, and if you have Android devices as well. That's kind of going to be the reason why you would probably consider Life360 over Find My. When I received just to finish off things with a Z, when I received the Tile demo units that I showed you, I actually got a very cool little product as well. Tile has made lost and found labels. If you're watching the show, I'm going to just quickly zoom back into full screen. There they are there. So it's a little QR code stickers. I think there's about 15 in a pack of. Here's actually the cover. There's an example. You can stick it on your water bottle. You can stick it on your headphones, or you can stick it on anything. It's a sticker. And the idea behind that is that you register that sticker with the app, and then you write a message. So, for example, let's say you put on your headset, like your big over-the-ear headset, you stick a little sticker over there because you can't really put a tracker on there. If you lose your headset, someone sees the QR code, it says, it actually says on here, scan if found, and it's got different languages as well, English, and I think that's Korean and Chinese, and I'm not sure what the other one is, and Japanese. If someone scans it, it gives up a message and says, thanks so much for scanning, for example. It's customized. You can put what you want. Thanks for scanning. I'm really upset that I've lost my headset. And there's a little button that says contact owner, and you push that, and that's going to then send a message through to you. And you can obviously arrange to get your stuff back. That's pretty cool. Like there, you're using an analog environment and integrating back into tech. So Tile has got a lot more experience, probably bigger thinking and footprint ideas when it comes to finding lost stuff. So yeah, that was things with a Z. It takes us to the end of that. So what else have we got? Let's go back into right, tech news. Everyone knows how much I love Zuckerberg and Facebook. So the news tab in Australia and I think a few other countries is no more. Zuckerberg doesn't want to pay for news content or share revenue that he makes from advertising. I say he, I know it's Meta and Facebook, but it's him. He's just the evil person there. So he's turned it off. So you will not be able to get news in Australia inside your Facebook. There's no more news tab in Facebook. Is this a deal breaker or maker? No, I must be honest. I use Facebook, but I've never, ever used the news tab in Facebook. If I'm going to read my news, I'm going to actually go straight to the source to make sure that it's actually the news that I'm trying to read anyway. So no real loss. Thanks for the fish. Bye. Speaking of turning it off, Microsoft has unbundled Teams and Office. So the competitors have been moaning that it's unfair, that they already have customers with their Office 365 and Office environment. And now by bundling Teams, they've precluded them from, them being like, I don't know, Zoom or Slack or any of the other platforms out there. I'm not sure who's been moaning it, but probably everyone that's not Microsoft, right? I've kind of, so I've got a different viewpoint on this whole challenge of monopolies, right? I don't think monopolies are a bad thing personally. Now, I'm not talking about world order and taking over the world and all these other weird and wonderful things, right? But if you are clever enough to build a product and equally more clever enough to exclude your competitors by using your own product, well done to you. I don't like Microsoft, but I have to respect the fact that they created a monopoly, and they offered a product. Do I like Microsoft's product? No. Do I like Teams? Definitely not. Anyone that's been on a Teams phone call with me, I do not stop moaning about Teams or how many times I've had to restart my machine to get it working, and so on and so on. Now, I'm stressing that point for the simple reason is that as a person, I have a choice. So yes, I might use Office in my company and Excel and Word and all those things that come with it, but I actually use Google Meet when it comes to meetings. I don't use Teams. And anytime someone sends me a Teams invite, I reply back going, really? Do we have to? It's there. It's bundled. Well, it's not going to be bundled anymore. But it's probably still be bundled if you've got it, right? Unless they do an update and unbundle it. But typical Microsoft thing. They would unbundle it, break it, and make me have to try and download it again. That's what I'm expecting from the unbundling. But the point that I'm making is, hey, good to you. If you've built a product that people are using and you can integrate more products into it, whether you're charging for it or charging a small percentage for it, it's not unfair. It's business. That's what business is all about. Business is about getting customers, keeping customers, and making money from customers. So, as I said, Well, the fanboy mood in me would be defending Apple till the cows came home. Oh, it's brilliant that they've got it. And quite honestly, there's an example, right? I am a fanboy and I hate FaceTime. I don't use it. Like I'm going to use Google Meet wherever possible. So again, I'm showing that I have a choice, although I'm on a MacBook, which comes with FaceTime built in. It's part of the operating system. You can set up meetings using FaceTime. You know, I can use WhatsApp, I can use Teams, I can use Zoom. Trying to think of all the different ones that I can use. But yeah, I have a choice. And I think that's the important part that people keep forgetting. They're quick to jump on their soapbox and moan. You have a choice. Right. What else have we got? Oh, really should rename the show the Band Show, not the Circle. I suppose at least the cross-out thing's a circle. So, TikTok. USA Senate has passed a bill that ByteDance, which is the holding company, needs to divest. Otherwise, TikTok will be banned. Now, I've just spoken about Microsoft not having or shouldn't be forced to unbundle their product. Here again, you're now telling a company they can't own a product. And this stems back to the whole Chinese thing. And on that note, right, I mean, this is tech news. China is repaying the favor and saying that no machines made there now can have NVIDIA cards or Intel chips or things like that inside them because, America's done the same thing with Chinese made hardware. So at the end of the day, the consumers are the only ones that are going to lose here. But be that as it may, TikTok, I think, has about 170 million users in the United States. And I don't know, I'm just sitting here and saying, hey, man, this screams oppression of freedom of speech. Like, we're going back to censorship, infringement of rights. I think I'm gonna just get myself a box of popcorn and sit here and that meme with Michael Jackson just eating the popcorn. Because I can't see how this plays out correctly. The Senate passes the bill. Some group are going to get together and sue, or ByteDance might even sue. There's going to be protests, but ultimately, I don't know the amendments, but I think it's like the Fifth Amendment is the freedom of speech or something like that. When you plead the Fifth as your right not to speak, surely by telling someone they can't use an app, you infringing on their rights. I don't know. I'm not an expert in people's rights. I'm just a tech guy. But quite honestly, so if they don't have TikTok on their phones, if China really wants to get data, they're going to get data. And people are going to use VPNs. They're still going to use TikTok. It just seems like a lot of taxpayer money wasted for nothing. Anyway, that's the end of tech news. This week's Are You game, I didn't play a game. And it's not because I did play a couple of games, but I didn't play a new game. But what I wanted to do was talk about Prime Gaming. Now, I have mentioned Amazon before in a very favorable light. If you're a Prime customer, you know that you get most of your stuff shipped for free. Amazon Prime, as in Prime Video, has got some really, really cool content. They're spending a lot of money on it. They acquired MGM, I think about a year ago or so. So Metro Golden Mayer, MGM, big line. So they've got this power studio house to produce content, and all of this is bundled into their subscription. If you paid annually, it's really not expensive. But Prime Gaming is quite a nice little gem that people don't, well, if you don't game, people don't really know about it. And every week or every month, no, I think it's weekly actually, they give you a free game or free pack that adds into a game. There's lots of cool stuff. So why am I talking about Prime Gaming in Are You Game this week? Well, it's very simple. Amazon, I think it's the 11th, tomorrow. Yeah, what's that? 10th, tomorrow, 11th. Fallout, the series is coming. Now, I'm going to just pause for a second. Most games that have been turned into shows have been, well, they haven't been great. Let's just put it that way. I'm not here to name and shame. If you don't play the games, the shows are fantastic. If you play the games, you probably find a gazillion things wrong with it. I do have to say that Last of Us, I actually enjoyed. I like the creative license that the producers took with the show. It's definitely better going to a second season or there's going to be hell to pay. Can't leave us like that. But Fallout is screaming for a TV show. Well, not anymore. It comes out on the 11th on Amazon Prime. Um, I don't think they can cock it up. I really don't, for the simple reason that Fallout, for those of you that don't know the game Fallout, and I've reviewed Fallout before. In fact, I think I did it when I played on the ROG. Um, but basically, Fallout is just a massive open world game. It's post I can't speak today. Post apocalyptic world. There was a nuclear bomb. Everyone went into a fallout shelter, lived there for 40 years, came outside, and the world is just wasted. But there's these characters, right, in the game, and there's some really unique characters. But it really is a massive, massive world to explore. So when you've got this really big space, and there are challenges, like all games, there's things that you need to do, find the guy, speak to the person in the pub. It depends which version. I think there's 4 or 5 versions of Fallout. I think there's Fallout 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 76. But to celebrate, so let me finish off my chain of thought here. When you've got this big open world and it's a fairly loose game, you've got to go out there, everything wants to kill you, eat you, murder you, etc. And you got to survive and go and find stuff and do stuff or kill back. You can put a story to that. You can create a story as if you were the player. I mean, the producer of the show could sit back and go, hey, this is how I played the game. I'm filming it. So I'm actually expecting it to be really good. I hope I'm not disappointed. I hope I'm not sitting here next week or week after, whenever I do another show and go, oh, watched Fallout is the biggest load of rubbish out. And I'll be honest, if it is, well, it's the biggest load of rubbish out. But I'm not thinking it. I watched the trailer, and I'm Cade as well. Cade also, he's like, he doesn't watch real life stuff. He watches anime, and every time it's in real life, he says they cock it up. He watched the trailer with me, and we were both like, wow, this is cool. So Amazon, please don't let it suck. But why am I talking about this in Prime Gaming? Well, they're giving away Fallout. In fact, I think it ends today. So you better get in quick. You can get Fallout 2. But I think I read it somewhere, and I'm waiting for tomorrow to see if I'm right. I believe they're giving Fallout 76 for free on Xbox and PlayStation as well. Now, normally they only do it on PC. So giving it away on Xbox and PlayStation, that's pretty big. I like to play games on console. I don't like to really play games on PC. Unfortunately, you have to play a lot of the big games on PC. We don't have to, but that's like kind of the right way to do it. But I like to play on console. I play on Xbox. So I'm pretty stoked if they do give that away, because I actually don't have Fallout 76 on Xbox. So Amazon, fingers, toes crossed, holding thumbs, and all those other good things. I think, as I said, to celebrate the show, I remember reading that somewhere. Someone can fact check me. Well, we won't have to wait long. Tomorrow's the 11th. But so apparently we're getting it tomorrow. And again, just a warning, it's normally about a week that these things are valid for. So if this does appeal to you, go quickly, go to Prime Gaming and get yourself a copy on Xbox or PlayStation for free. So that was Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming, sorry, that's RU Game. Q&A. Now, a cool one, and I think I understand it, and I hope I can explain it properly. But the question that came through is, what is spatial audio and why the hype? It's not actually super easy to explain this, but I'm going to try. So basically, I'm going to start off with stereo. Okay, so most music, radio stations, MP3s, etc., is recorded in stereo, left and right. So you put on a headset or you listen to speakers, and it sounds like a car's there, and then it's there. Or you get guitar coming out of the right speaker and drums coming out of the left speaker. That's stereo. That's kind of where we start. And just stay with me on this journey. And then, you get like Dolby surround and surround sound. Now, surround sound's not to be confused with spatial audio. A few people do that, and I'm going to still get to spatial, but I've got to get there first. So surround sound, the easy way to describe that, it's fuller sound. It's like you filled up the room, right? This is when people started buying subwoofers, and you might have seen like 5-in-1. They get those 5 speaker systems in their homes, or 7 speaker systems. The best is like movies and cinemas. Like they have that full sound, like it's this big room full of sound, and people are replicating it at home That's surround sound. Okay. It's not spatial. Spatial, I think I'm built up to it now. Spatial audio, on the other hand, though, this is sound that's kind of external from us. Now, obviously, all sound's external, it's outside and we hear it. But what I mean by that, it's in front of you. In fact, it can be on the side of you, and you can actually pinpoint where that sound is coming from. Now, remember, the speakers haven't moved, right? Let's go back to my example of stereo. You got left and right, and you can hear it's coming from the left and the right. In surround sound, you got this full sound, and even there's kind of, well, it's not stereo because there's more than two speakers, but you'll have gunshots in the far right corner, and the car screeching in the back left, and a woman screaming on the back right, and a baby crying on the front right left, and that's surround sound. Spatial, the sound is actually isolated and almost hovering in front of you. You can actually pinpoint it. Now, it moves in and out as well, hence the spatial side. So it could be right here next to you, or can be a little bit further away, but you can actually, watching the show, I'm doing the inverted commas in the air. You can see the sound, if that makes sense. It's kind of like exactly where that sound's coming from, even though there's no speakers there. Now, if you have a MacBook, for a while now, we've had spatial audio on the sound. So you can have your MacBook sitting on your desk, but the sound can be like as if it's hovering above your head. Now, the speakers are down on your desk under the MacBook, but the sound is sitting and hovering above your head. Some of the AirPod Pros, the AirPod Pro Max, some of the really big expensive headsets, they have spatial audio technology. The sound kind of like swings and moves, and it's in these different spaces. You'll know when you're hearing spatial audio. It's very hard to describe it, but when you hear it, it's like nothing you've heard before. It's different. It's not full. It's focused, and it balances and floats around you. Now, why did I get to this whole long-winded story? Well, spatial audio is important for spatial computing. And that's why I chose to answer this question today. So the Apple Vision Pro, which we've spoken about, and it's out, and people are talking about it and playing with it, they use spatial computing. So what that means is that content is in different viewpoints. You can look all the way around you and can spin up multiple screens. Spatial audio will match that screen. So if you've got let's say you've got a game, football game playing on the bottom right of your screen, you can have the commentary sitting in the bottom right of your screen, and your ears are going to hear that the sound is coming from the bottom right of your screen. Now, I'm talking about something that's visual, but we're talking about audio. So the audio sits in a specific place. And that's what spatial computing needs, because it needs you to be focused or looking at a different component of what you've spun up inside that spatial world, and hearing that sound from that point. I hope I've explained that correctly. As I said, the easiest way is to go into an Apple store, put on a pair of noise cancelling AirPod Pros, and hear spatial audio. Or if you've got a MacBook, go into Apple Music. You do have to have the paid subscription of Apple Music to get spatial audio. A lot of albums that have been released in spatial audio, and I promise you can hear the difference. It's not a fad. It's really cool. And yeah, so again, I'm not sure if I answered that correctly. I hope I did. But yep, that's it. So that's the Q&A. Suppose that's it for this week. So until next time, keep your screens clean and your knobs shiny.